All right, cryptocurrency 101. What is it? Why is it important? What are the things you need to know, and should you invest? I'm gonna give you a quick rundown so that you can just stop looking from article to article and get it all in one place. Here it is. All right, cool. So I want to do a video today, a quick video, in just a few minutes talking about what cryptocurrency is. And for anyone who's heard the term a lot but isn't quite familiar with what actually everyone is talking about, this is a great video. It's kind of like a 101, an introduction, as you will, especially for people who aren't tech savvy, because right off the bat, cryptocurrency sounds like something that you'd have to be tech savvy to understand. So before we dive into what cryptocurrency is, I want to just take you back to maybe your government class. So depending on where you're watching this, you most likely had a class in either middle school or high school that was about government and how the government of your country runs and works. So in the US, we have what's called a Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve, for us, is what's responsible for printing and distributing all the money that we have in our monetary system. And this is what's called a centralized money system, basically, meaning that we have banks that distribute, disperse, and especially create money and then circulate it around. And it's the banks and the corporations that keep the money flow going, and people just take a piece of that money, they store some. But remember, in a centralized monetary system like we have in the US, every time the money is either being stored in a bank or transferred from account to account, the financial institution, the bank, is taking a piece of that money. They take a piece of that money to store it, which is called, interest, right? And they take a piece of that money to send it and to move it around. So let's talk about how that differs from cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is decentralized, meaning that no one Federal Reserve or unifying body or bank controls, distributes, or disperses the money. And essentially, cryptocurrency is just a digital currency that is it's designed to work as a real currency. And it's not run by one organization, but it's actually owned by the community that has created it. And so it's essentially what it is it's a currency that's almost, if you want to think about it in layman's terms, it's almost peer-to-peer. It's money that we all understand as having real value, but it's digital, it's on your computer. And because of the way that the network is set up, which I'll talk about in a minute, called blockchain, because of the way that network is set up, it's very easy to see how much money is in the system at one time and who has the money. In a centralized monetary system like in the US, there's no set amount of dollars that can be distributed, right? So for instance, we used to be on what's called the gold standard, meaning that roughly speaking, that we had to have as much money circulating around as there was gold in the US Treasury, meaning that there was some sort of physical representation of the money floating around. Now we're off the gold standard, and so there's no finite amount of money that we have to have. Now what that means is whenever we're going through a slump, one of the things that happens is we just print money. We'll literally print more money and flood it into the monetary ecosystem, or we'll just move numbers over from one digital spreadsheet to the next, from bank to bank. And essentially that's the same thing as printing money nowadays. But we'll print more money, and what this means is that the dollar becomes weaker, because as there are more dollars out there, they become less valuable individually. So the dollar weakens, or the pound weakens, or whatever your monetary system is weakens as they print more and more of these dollars. So with a cryptocurrency that's decentralized, there's only a set amount of these tokens, these pieces of money, and so the value is only going to go up because there's more people that want them, and there's only a small amount of these, compared to how many people want them. So that's the difference, right? There's the supply and demand. The fact that no more cryptocurrency is created means that the more people that want them, the more valuable they become. So let's talk about different types of cryptocurrency. So two big ones right now, and I think I should make a whole video on these, but the two big ones are Ethereum and Bitcoin. Bitcoin being the OG. So Bitcoin has been around for a while. It's been around since 2009, and it really got popular like 2013, and then Ethereum's been around since 15 and really starting to get more popular now. And there's a lot of different cryptocurrencies besides that. There's another one called Litecoin, which is doing okay, it's just doing pretty well. There's also like maybe 100 plus more. I think there are actually a few hundred different types of cryptocurrencies. There's like one called Dash, there's one called, I think, Monaco, there's a bunch of them. And the reason why there are so many different types of cryptocurrencies is because each one is used for a specific purpose. So I know what you're thinking now. Okay, so if this is just digital money, like who creates, how is it created, how do they stop people from just making their own digital currency? I get it, there's a lot of questions here. But essentially, we have to remember what money is. So money is essentially, it's a representation of value. So for instance, I can look around my house, I see these key limes, okay? If we decided that these key limes were going to be our new money system, then eventually these would be very valuable. And if I had enough of these key limes, I could buy anything I wanted. I could buy a car, I could buy a house, I could put these in a bank and we'd have key lime banks. Maybe they'd be big freezers, I don't know. But this is just an idea that represents value, and money is the same way. Gold doesn't really do anything for us except that it represents value, and that's why gold used to be the monetary system back in the day. And so these dollars that we have, it's all because as a society, we agree that dollars equal value, meaning that if I give you $1,000, I should get something that I feel like is worth $1,000 back. It's all just an agreement. So with digital currency, this is not, the mindset of adopting a new currency isn't that revolutionary. Remember, having a currency is just agreeing that something is worth what you're exchanging it for. Back in, in other countries, they'll trade cows, as currency because people see cows as very valuable. So currency is something that for the most part is a state of mind. It's a mindset and it's a mental construct rather than a physical construct, because there is no actual value behind most of the things that we value besides, food, water, oxygen, basically. So next part to consider, like how is the cryptocurrency made? Now, first of all, I am not a cryptocurrency expert. I'm just going off of what my understanding is after doing my own research, after having friends who are into it, after watching a lot of things and reading a lot of things. So by no means am I an expert, but this is my understanding of it, and it will help you because my understanding is probably right at your level. So here's what we're working with here. There is a system of ledgers, essentially. And if you think about the way a bookkeeper works, a bookkeeper has ledgers and they look from one name to the next name and see where the money is going. Now, let's say you and I wanted to exchange, in this case, Bitcoin. So if I had 10 Bitcoin and you have 0, and I want to give you 3 Bitcoin, this is how it would work. Daniel has 10 Bitcoin, you have 0, Daniel transfers you 3 Bitcoin, now you have 3 Bitcoin, Daniel has 7. And there's a ledger keeping track of all this, and that ledger is called the blockchain. So when people talk about blockchain currency, that's what they're referring to. This ledger that keeps track of who has how much of the digital currency. Now think about how this is starting to tie together. We have a finite amount of digital currency. I'm not 100% sure. I think with Bitcoin, which is the biggest digital currency right now, I believe there's like 22 million Bitcoin available. And of course, that's, if you extrapolate that, each Bitcoin is now worth like somewhere around $2,000 US. So if you times 22 million times 2,000, let's see how many, I'm actually gonna look, how many Bitcoins are there? Right, okay, so there's 21 million Bitcoins out there, okay? And so, as you can see, they're gonna move from person to person on the ledger, which is the blockchain. And as more people want them, there's gonna be fewer and fewer available for people to share. And so look, this is what it's come down to. I think as a society, we're pretty tired of banks. We're pretty tired of the fact that there's nowhere where we can put our money without getting a piece of it taken out. Like I said, whether you keep the money in the bank, you're gonna get fees and interest and penalties. They're always gonna be charging you and taking some of your money, charging you to store your money there. Whenever you're transferring money, there's going to be a fee attached to that. And it's not only that, it's the fact that we don't have actual control over our money. If we wanted to take all our money out of the bank, sometimes the bank won't let you. If you want to send money to someone, you can't do it without doing it through a bank. And so imagine how the world might look if we didn't depend on banks to store our money, to trade it, to transfer it. Well, their power structures would start to crumble. And their power structure resides in the centralized banking system because we have to use them right now. If they didn't have any of our money, then they wouldn't be able to control us, essentially. And so decentralized currency takes away some of that power by essentially giving us the ability to give money person to person without having to go through a bank, to store money without having to keep it in the vault, you know? And so this is just one of the many benefits of blockchain currency, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum. And in coming videos, I'll talk to you a little bit more about what Bitcoin is, what Ethereum is, what the trends are like, how the technology works, and some more things that I'm finding really interesting. All right, so if cryptocurrency is as interesting to you right now as it is to me, then I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below in the comment box. Just tell me if you've already invested or if you're planning to. I'm really curious to know about that. And if you want to hear more about what I plan to do with crypto and where my investments are going, then just subscribe to this channel and you'll get some updates, because I'm going to probably do about 3 to 5 videos on crypto and just tell you my thoughts, what I'm doing, where I'm investing it, and give you some ideas of maybe some things you can do. All right, so I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.